Heartbreak, it is an experience that nobody is ever prepared for. But what do you do when you find yourself with a heartbreak, with a sore heart, and you're not prepared? Of course, you're never prepared for disappointment in your life. But then, when it happens, you need to find a solution. You need to be able to deal with the heartbreak, to cope with the heartbreak. Issues of the heart are very deep. Issues of the heart are things that when you try to explain to other people, they might seemingly not understand the depth of your soreness, the depth of your heartbreak. They might not understand what exactly you're going through. However, the process of you healing from a heartbreak is solely dependent on you. Number one, you need to acknowledge that you are hurting, that you have been disappointed. And a lot of times, many people just move and decide to just ignore the hurting feeling and expect life is going to be okay in the near future. Of course, you can close the door of the heartbreak. You can decide not to give yourself attention to how you are feeling. But this experience of having your heart broken, constant disappointments, normally has results in the future. And that is what I would like you to avoid. How do you avoid that? Don't be in denial that your heart is broken. Don't be in denial that you are broken. Acknowledge it first. Once you acknowledge it, your body, your mind is going to start processing the stress. You need to go through that. The reason why many people end up depressed in the later life, many people end up having trust issues in the later life, it's because they didn't allow themselves to heal. They didn't allow themselves to go through the process of dealing with the heartbreak. They just close the chapter and be like, listen, I've been heartbroken, so it's okay. Number one, don't be in denial. Acknowledge yourself. Number two, you need to call on God. God is the only person, God is the only, doctor who can actually prescribe and give you adequate medication for your heartbreak, because heartbreaking situations differ from person to person, and I believe that each heartbreaking healing process is solely individualized. It's not generalized, and God is the only one who can tailor-make such a treatment for you. Call on God. You see, the same way you whine, the same way you're crying, the same way you are weeping every time when you think about that heartbreak, when you think about that separation from your spouse, when you think about that situation that has left you broken. Tell it to God as it is. Tell Him how you feel. Just like you're making a conversation. It's as simple as that. And you say, God, I'm hurting. I have this heaviness on my heart. Please address it. You tell Him as it is. You call on God. And by talking to God, that means you're definitely praying about it. I know when you're going through a situation, believe me, I know it's very hard to pray because you do not know how to pray. And you're like, oh no, God, I need this person back in my life. Oh, why did these people do this? Oh, why? I know all that. And you are going to probably do that. But here's the catch. If you continue asking the whys and the hows and the why me, and you will get a little bit of closure. But I believe that God does not allow you to go through certain things just for nothing. He allows you to go through a certain challenge for a later purpose. You might not be understanding it, but later in the years, you'll understand that, oh my God, the heartbreak that I'm crying over today was actually led by God, and it was actually a process that had to happen so that you are channeled into the will of God upon your life, be it relationship, be it a certain experience. So you need to be able to process that now and heal so that you are prepared for the later, for the good that's yet to come. When you pray and when you acknowledge that, God, come into my life now in this heartbreaking situation, you will definitely get answers and direction from God on how best to nurse your feelings, your emotions, best fitting to your situation, best fitting to your personality. Number 3, need to forgive. Let the person out of your heart, be it relatives, be it your spouse, be it your partner, be it friends, family, everybody who has disappointed you, who has led you to, who has left you broken. You need to forgive. Forgiveness is your responsibility. As much as it hurts, you need to forgive. I know some people need closure. They need closure before they forgive. They need to talk before they forgive. It helps them to forgive. But what forgiveness will do, it will result in having you feel free and not having to be so heavy-hearted whenever you think about that person. You know, years later, you will actually discover that you might need to even thank the people who have led you to be heartbroken because they were just in God's will and things happened the way they happened so that years later you find yourself in a better position. God says in His word, the best is always yet to come. He knows the plans He has for you. Plans not to harm you, but to prosper you. So if you find yourself in a position where it is not in God's plan, in God's will, of course, some things are going to happen. And one of those things always lead to heartbreaks. Imagine if you are acquitted or if you are together with the wrong person, the person that's not supposed to be in your life, and then they decide to leave you. Of course, you're bound to feel rejected. We will talk definitely more about rejection in the next episodes as well. But when you forgive, you're actually allowing God to move in your life in depth. Because forgiveness is godly. Forgiveness is something that we ought to do, just as God forgives us. And that is your responsibility. Yes, you, the one who has the heart that has been chopped and diced into pieces. You need to forgive the dicer, the chopper. Yeah, you need to forgive. Step number 4. Once you have forgiven, step number 4 is you need to now surrender your life. Because I found out that in my most low moments, that's the moment I've actually gotten to understand God's power. That's the most time I've actually got to understand the love that God has for me in my lowest moment, when I'm broken and when my heart is like, oh, contrite, So in this situation, you need now to pray to God, to surrender everything to God and say, Father, I give you my heart. You know what is in my heart. You know what is in my heart. You know what is in my heart, oh God. Please address every situation that is lying in depth of my heart. You need to make that prayer. You surrender it unto God, because believe me, you're going to explain to so many people, and all they will do is to listen. They will never come with the medication to say, let me stitch your heart back to its original position. Only God can repair. And